Hello, beautiful, and welcome back to another episode of Beautiful, I Am Colored. My name is Evelyn, and I am the creator and author of the book titled Beautiful, I Am Colored. I am so honored and grateful that you have returned to hear some of my thoughts and reflections from my week as I share them with you. Recall that a few weeks ago, I came back after some months long hiatus, which was very much needed. And so now we return for the most recent season of Beautiful, I Am Colored. And a lot of times before I come to you, you may recall from previous episode, I tell you, I do everything from just a download moment. And what was on my mind this week has been a couple of things, but in kind of keeping with the theme of opportunity, which is what I started in on when I returned a few weeks ago. I was thinking about one of my favorite brands of athletic wear and gear from a quality standpoint and from a color choice standpoint. And I was just curious about the history of the company, which started in 1919 under a different name. Yes, I will tell you the company's name in just a little bit, but let me just set it up, okay? So I did almost 6 miles today in preparing for this race, which was great. And it was just a run walk, but it was great. It was easy, felt great. And I was like, I just love this sweatshirt. It's like a mustard yellow sweatshirt. It's simple, but the quality of the material is thick enough that it'll keep you warm, but it's still breathable enough that for a springtime change in Denver, it allows enough air to come through. And so I was like, you know what? That's come across my mind a couple of times now about this company. So let me just look them up and just check out their history and see how long they've been around. And so again, they've been around since 1919. The company is Champion. It was started out of New York with a group of brothers as an idea, sportswear company. And one of the things that was unique about their sportswear model or business model is that instead of going directly to the retail route and selling their products, they actually founded their company on going to direct. By that, I mean they marketed directly to the clientele who they were seeking to serve. And that was coaches and athletes to get insight on what they needed in terms of athletic apparel. And through a series of years, they changed names because they started off as a different name. I'll link the Champion History website to this podcast so you can read about it if you're interested. But I was just thinking about how you start something and not really fully knowing the how, the when. You just have an idea and you start something. And then that something months, years later, decades later, evolves into something that was never really the original intent, but it was the seed that was planted in order for there to be more growth developed in the future. And I was thinking about that in terms of framing today's conversation and how life is a lot like that, and well, before I get fully into my remarks for this morning, by the way, happy Sunday and happy Easter to those of you who celebrate. My mom would say happy Resurrection Day, so happy Resurrection Day, Mom. Before I cascade into that, let me start with shout outs and thank yous as I normally do before I get into some additional insights and perspectives related to this idea of starting from something and it evolving into something else. This week's shout out and thank you goes to the brunch date that we had yesterday with some friends of ours here in Denver. It was a couple's date and it was awesome. My friend AB, he would label this as bougie. I don't think I'm bougie. I just like what I like. So we went to one of my favorite brunch spots, not because it has the best, all-time best cuisine, but honestly, it's because of the service. I'm a service freak, and anytime I can go somewhere that gives me excellent service consistently, then I am going to return. So we had brunch at the Edge in downtown Denver, and more than anything, overarchingly, it was just, the conversation was just so meaningful. It's so good to have people that you can relate things to and bounce things off of, and not necessarily feel like you're isolated or going through things by yourself. And it raises the importance of having people around you who you can share things with. Now, if you've been listening to me for quite some time now, then you know that I'm very discerning about who I spend time with and when and the why and all of that. But I will say this, in being discerning, it's equally important to allow people the opportunity to show you that, that they are and can be the friend that you need. So I just want to say a huge shout out and thank you to AB and Rachel for a great brunch yesterday, which I have a feeling is going to cascade into something else really soon here. But I just wanted to say thank you. And as always, I'm thankful and grateful for my trainer, Claudia Oviatt. If you don't know her, that's fine. You can look her up. She's on Instagram. And she does classes in a few different places, but I work out, or she trains me at Bodies by Perseverance in 5 Points here in Denver. And so I be killing it in the gym. That's all I'm going to say. Like, you might look at me and think something else, but I'm just telling you, I go hard in the gym. And so shout out to Claudia for pushing me each week that we meet, and just learning me and knowing and pushing my body to do more. And so it's just so exciting. And so I'm so thankful for her too. All right. I'm going to take a quick break, very quick. And then I'm going to come back with a little bit more insight and perspectives about like the things that were coming to mind as I was reading about the brand that we know today as Champion, which has been in existence since 1919, according to their website. I'll be right back. Before we get into more insights and perspectives on today's topic, I wanted to just remind you and share with you that my book titled Beautiful, child, Beautiful, I Am Colored is still available exclusively on my website, which is beautifuliamcolored.com. I will be honored if you take the time to look through the website, and if you so decide to order a book. My books, probably until I sell out of all of them, will continue to be buy one, get one free. So the price reflected, you'll get 2 books for the price of 1. Bless yourself, bless somebody else. For those of you who do not know, my book doubles as a reflective journal. So I share some very deep and somewhat traumatic things that have occurred or happened to me throughout my life thus far. But I also always end each story in my book with some motivational thoughts, as well as and inspirational thoughts, as well as a reflective question to prompt writing. And the reason for that and why I created the book the way that I did or set it up is because for me, and I know a lot of others, before you can get a place to where you go to therapy or you can talk it out, sometimes you can just write it out to get it out of yourself. And so for me, writing has been exceptionally therapeutic in terms of putting things on paper that I may not necessarily be able to talk to someone about. So that's why I set it up the way that I did. So anyhow, this is kind of like a quick commercial for myself. But again, I'd be honored if you would consider purchasing a book. You'd get one free. And thank you for listening. I think we're going to get right back into today's topic. Thanks so much. Okay, so I'm back. So again, I was thinking about how my book, for example, which it seems like since I started writing it, it doesn't seem like it's been that long ago, but like the book was released publicly last year. But of course, the writing process happened years before that because it's a collection of true short stories and stuff. And don't worry, I'm gonna tie it to my point in a second, but just go with me for a moment. And so when I was writing the words to the book, there was no way, like I hadn't formulated the concept, how I wanted to deliver the book, what I wanted the cover of the book. I had nothing, okay? I was just doing it like step by step, just as I was led. I was just doing it step by step. I felt led to write, I would write. And when it got to the place where I felt like the writing portion was completed, at least to the best of my ability at that point in time, I had to make a decision to open myself up. Okay, I know I want to get this packaged in book form, but I don't even know how to do that. How does one get what's just typed up on their computer or in their journal fully into a book? And so I had to do a little bit of research, but I also had to leave myself open for opportunity that may present itself. So by a series of events, I was connected with a local publisher here. Unfortunately, that relationship did not evolve the way that I had anticipated. However, it did set the framework and groundwork for me to self-publish the book and learn so much about the book writing process, as well as marketing and so on and so forth. With that said, I never imagined that in writing the book and trying to put together a marketing scheme that I would start a podcast. Like, that was never part of the plan. Like, podcast was not in my vocabulary. It's just, I didn't even really listen to a lot of podcasts, at least it's podcasts we know today. At the time when it dropped down as an idea, like maybe you should just do this to get it out. And from there, I never thought that in me sharing my stories with so many people that I would hear so many testimonials of people relating to me sharing my story and just being obedient. A lot of people would say vulnerable and transparent, and sure is that, but it's obedient and following through with your first mind and that little seed, not necessarily, and planting that little seed, not necessarily knowing what it will evolve or become into. Similarly, with Champion, the brand that I shared with you before I got into more detail and perspective about today's topic, sometimes you don't know all of the how-tos you're going to get to somewhere. But what's most important is having that idea, being consistent in that idea, not wavering from it, so that the other things that you need to manifest for it to become whatever it's becoming can come to you. Somebody said it like this: what you want wants you. And sometimes even we don't really know specifically and exactly what we want, or we may be timid or fearful to share explicitly what we want. That thing wants you too. And so I remind you that we are all purposed and created for where we are right now. It's just if you adhere to what you know is true within yourself. And so I would say, in keeping this theme of opportunity in mind, I would say that all of us truly are champions within. However, it takes a tremendous amount of work to have the discipline, the wherewithal, and frankly, to have the courage to cast your net, not necessarily knowing if you're going to get a lot of fish or not. And if you don't get that analogy, I'm going to need you to catch up on some of your Bible stories. But I said all that to say that lately I've just been really thinking deeply about where I started as it pertains to this podcast and where I want to end up or where I want to be. And I definitely do have some ideas, but they're not fully ripe yet to share with you. But making myself available. And so as I share with you each week in terms of, what I'm thinking through, how I'm getting through from my workouts to, other things, I just want to encourage you today on this Easter Sunday resurrection weekend, for those of you who celebrate this sacred time. I just want to encourage you to make yourself available and open to the many possibilities that are before us. But the only way that we can do that is if we make a decision first to be vulnerable enough, and then two, to when those things come our way, that we don't question it, And we just step in and do it, because that is the only way that you can evolve and change and become 100-plus-year-old story, similar to the Champion brand that I shared at the beginning of this broadcast. As you know, each week, my overall and overarching goal is for you to find a sense of hope and healing. And if I do that for just one person, then I know that I am walking in my purpose. And so until next time, beautiful, have a great week. For those of you who have to go out into the workforce and be around other people that can sometimes get your feathers a little ruffled, I just pray that you have a blessed and prosperous week, as I plan to. And remember, the future you is waiting on you. Until next time, beautiful, have a great week, everyone.